Hey everyone, in my last few videos we've been diving into miracles, those supernatural, mind-blowing events that seem to defy the laws of physics. Remember the famous philosopher David Hume who said that believing in miracles is irrational? Well, in my last video we discussed that it should at least be possible for one to change their mind about miracles. Hume kind of gets close to that in this statement from his essay.
When anyone tells me that he saw a dead man restored to life, I immediately consider with myself whether it be more probable that this person should either deceive or be deceived, or that the fact which he relates should really have happened. I weigh the one miracle against the other, and according to the superiority which I discover, I pronounce my decision, and always reject the greater miracle. If the falsehood of his testimony would be more miraculous than the event which he relates, then, and not till then, can he pretend to demand my belief or opinion.
So in other words, Hume is saying that he will only believe a miracle story if it's more incredible for the person to be lying or mistaken than for the miracle to have actually happened. So how did Christian defenders in Hume's day respond to this challenge? Did they just throw up their hands and say, well, we can't compete with that, but hey, trust me, the Holy Spirit definitely tells me that Jesus rose from the dead? No, not a chance. They were actually more like, hey, game on, Hume. Enter Peter Bain, a 19th century philosopher. He basically said, all right, Hume, you want to talk about evidence? Let's do this. Bain agreed with Hume that Christians need to show proof for their miracles, proof so strong that it would be crazier to believe that it was a lie or a mistake than the miracle itself. So what should Hume do next, according to his own rules? Hume, by his own logic, should have taken a deep dive into specific miracles Christians believe in. He should have laid out all the evidence for them and then shown how, even if convincing, that evidence could still be very wrong. After all, wouldn't a mistaken miracle story be less surprising than an actual miracle? That's what Hume arguments demands, a fair fight in the evidence ring. But guess what? Bain points out that anyone who's cracked open Hume's essay knows that he completely skips this part. He just throws the Christian miracles out on their ear without a fair trial. Instead, he looks at totally unrelated miracles, half-heartedly sort of debunks them, and then claims that Christian miracles are disproven by association. That's like accusing someone of a crime without any evidence, then pointing to a bunch of other unrelated crimes and saying, see, they're probably guilty too. Not exactly the most convincing strategy. Now, I will say, me being an apologist for some time now, I can tell you that this is where skeptics will usually say, pump your brakes and start throwing out the line, extraordinary claims require extraordinary evidence. That sounds wise, right? But what exactly does that mean? Philosopher Tim McGrew has nicknamed the slogan, extraordinary claims require extraordinary evidence, the argumentum sagani, named after Carl Sagan, the guy who came up with the phrase and was the OG of TV science guys. In his talks on the topic, he jokes about the argument by breaking it down into a syllogism. Premise 1, extraordinary claims require extraordinary evidence. Premise 2, the claim that a miracle has occurred is extraordinary. Therefore, premise 3, any evidence supporting it ought to be extraordinary as well. Premise 4, I'm not sure what I mean by extraordinary. Premise 5, but whatever you come up with, it's not going to work. Therefore, conclusion, no one is justified in believing any miracle claim. All right, now, it's a bit of a joke, and I'm sure somebody is going to cry straw man at this point in the comments section, but trust me, in my experience, this is all too real. You see, the problem with the word extraordinary is that it's rarely clearly defined by the skeptic. What exactly do they mean by extraordinary? Do they need a miracle caught in 4K video, verified by multiple reliable sources, assessed by tech and science experts, plus a psychological evaluation of the person claiming it? Instead of saying extraordinary claims require extraordinary evidence, I think it's just better off to say that all claims need enough evidence. What counts as evidence depends on how likely the claim is to begin with. Even if a claim seems extremely unlikely, it can still be proven if there's strong enough evidence, yes, even testimonial evidence. By not clearly defining extraordinary, atheists sometimes set the evidence bar so high that no one could ever meet it. Now, a skeptic might ask, well, come on, Eric, what's the chance of a God being resurrected after dying or walking on water? Since neither Christians nor skeptics believe similar events have happened before, the chance of such claims being true before looking at any evidence is obviously incredibly low. So no amount of evidence can overcome that low prior probability. Now, that's an interesting point and all, but here's the thing. How often something happens isn't the only way to judge its likelihood. McGrew goes on to use a science example to explain this. You see, there's a theory in nuclear physics that says that protons, which are tiny particles in atoms, can just randomly break down and decay. This is extremely rare and has actually never been observed. However, scientists have built sophisticated detectors in underground water tanks to catch this event happening, even if it takes decades. By this logic, it's an extraordinary claim. But just because we haven't observed it yet doesn't mean that it can't happen. So if we accept extremely rare things might happen in science based on good evidence, why can't the same thing be true for religion? Again, rarity is not the only thing that matters. Just like the proton theory has scientific reasons behind it, the idea of Jesus rising from the dead might not just be a random guess either. Think about it. Jesus reportedly claimed to be the Messiah, a highly significant figure in Jewish prophecy. Maybe that gives us some extra weight to the idea of him coming back to life, even before we look at any evidence at all. Usually in my discussions with skeptics, they really just retreat back to Hume and say that testimony, especially ancient testimony, just doesn't count as extraordinary evidence. But that's just patently false. Charles Babbage wasn't your average dude. This English polymath was a mathematician, philosopher, inventor, and engineer who basically invented the OG computer, a programmable one no less. In response to Hume, he wrote, "If independent witnesses can be found who speak the truth more frequently than falsehood, it is always possible to assign a number of independent witnesses the improbability of the falsehood of whose occurring testimonies shall be greater than that of the improbability of the miracle itself." In short, enough reliable witnesses can trump the low odds of a miracle being real. So forget this whole everlasting check thing. David Hume might have thought miracles were inherently improbable, but hold on, what if a mountain of evidence, even if each piece is just a pebble, could outweigh the sheer unlikelihood of the miraculous? Atheists often scoff picturing a single earth-shattering proof for miracles, but the reality is that the same punch delivered by a single heavyweight can be landed by a flurry of well-placed jabs. Multiple convincing pieces of evidence, even if not individually spectacular, can collectively build a strong enough case to warrant belief. Now you might say, listen, there are a boatload of miracle claims out there from different religions, all saying different things. How in the world are you going to even try to attempt to use miracles as evidence for a specific religion? That's a fantastic question, and the one we'll dive into the next video. So be sure to hit that subscribe button, boop the notification bell, and stay tuned. And thank you so much for watching.